Why anti-ad-block policies could hurt revenue instead. Let's see this.
On May 9th, 2023, Reddit user Sask100 posted an image of a message they received when visiting YouTube. It reads, "Ad blockers are not allowed on YouTube. It looks like you may be using an ad blocker. Ads allow YouTube to stay free for billions of users worldwide. You can go ad-free with YouTube Premium, and creators can still get paid from your subscription." And then it gives you the option to either allow YouTube ads or try YouTube Premium. About a day later, a YouTube employee confirmed with the subreddit moderator that this was in fact real. IGN also reached out to them for comment, and an employee told them the following. "We're running a small experiment globally that urges viewers with ad blockers enabled to allow ads on YouTube or try YouTube Premium. Ad blocker detection is not new, and other publishers regularly ask viewers to disable ad blockers."
That's really smart for YouTube to try this, to see what people are going to do. How many people actually disable it, and how many people buy Premium, etc. That's smart.
Just because they say it's a small experiment, though, doesn't mean that you shouldn't worry. Small scale means that they're testing the waters to see how many people are going to go, "I guess I'll pay for Premium then." And then if YouTube's revenue from new memberships increase at a higher rate than any revenue lost due to users viewing less content, then they're going to see it as a success, and it's going to go from a small-scale experiment to a large-scale one as they roll it out.
Well, of course, right. The reason why they're doing this is in order to see if it would be viable on a more large scale. Absolutely.
Regions. Now, before anyone starts talking about legality or freedom of speech or whatever, it is well within YouTube's rights to have these policies in their terms of service. And we all understand that they want ad revenue to fund server costs and maximize profits.
Sure.
Let's not pretend that they're bleeding money here, though. And inversely, the right to use ad blockers also exists. In Germany, you have multiple court cases outright saying that ad blockers are legal. Meanwhile, I'm not an attorney, but you do have some fundamental concepts of law that an actual legal expert might use to say that an express contract or an implied contract is not inherently formed or enforceable just because you visit a website and agree to the terms.
Well, of course it's not enforceable because you don't know the mental state of the person that clicked the button. There's no witness to the contract. Like, obviously, a TOS isn't binding. The only time where the TOS was binding was, I think, a case that, yeah, no notary, there's nothing like that. If it was high, if somebody was underage, etc., they can change TOS. Yeah, that, of course. If you know anything about contract law, which I don't really know a lot about it, but at least I know that, yeah.
You also have historical cases that aren't inherently about ad blocking, but are kind of in the same area, such as cases regarding property modification, website click wrappers, or even the Sony Betamax Supreme Court case, where the judge ruled that recording a program...
I was about to say, the Betamax, what the fuck? Yeah, that was before VHS. Like, my dad told me about Betamax. And I'm old.
And fast forwarding through the commercials is legal. Fun fact, some DVRs and VCRs actually have the ability to automatically detect and skip commercials.
Yeah.
So sponsor block has kind of been around for decades now.
It has been.
For the sake of proper transparency, though, how an ad is circumvented can still be an issue in certain circumstances. And there's also plenty of ways to design a website so that a contract is much more enforceable. But we'll leave the actual discussion of legal hypotheticals to an actual attorney. Back to what I am qualified to say, though, certain data privacy laws, such as the GDPR, can make certain ad block detection methods illegal. And even government agencies, such as the FBI, say you should be using them for your own safety. And now let's talk about the Cobra effect, a phenomenon that many of you have witnessed throughout history, but may not have known about as a defined concept. The Cobra effect is essentially when someone tries to fix a problem, but their efforts either end up making the problem worse or creating a new problem entirely. The alleged origin story was that back in the 1900s, when India was still under British rule, India had a cobra problem. The British came up with a solution of offering a bounty on dead cobras to encourage the residents to kill them and reduce the population. Instead, the residents just began breeding the cobras so that they could easily kill them and collect the bounty.
Smart.
Then when the British caught on and canceled the program, all the cobras being bred were released into the wild, and then the cobra population was actually higher than before the program started.
Smart, yeah.
Now, I say alleged because, due to the fact that most of history is lost to time, we don't have definitive proof that this event ever happened. But the name Cobra Effect still stuck, and the concept is very much real. So I want you to keep it in mind when you think...
Is there any example of this concept actually happening in a way that's verifiable, or is this just a hypothetical based on a story that's not verifiable? Yeah, like, it would be nice to have some examples of this.
About the never-ending battle between ads and ad blockers. Many advertising companies are actually okay with ad blockers because they know that most of those people are never actually going to click on the ads served to them.
And also keep in mind, the reason why advertising companies are okay with ad blockers is also because if you watch a video and you have an ad blocker on, the advertiser doesn't have to pay for that. So that means that every single time that happens, like you're effectively, so let's say if you take the general population and you say a person is 1% likely to buy something whenever they see an ad on YouTube, the 30% population of the people that are using AdBlock, let's say, those people are even lower than 1%. So you're actually getting a higher return on investment if you're only advertising to the people that are not using ad blocker. Yeah, it's actually a very smart thing for advertisers to say this. So we're saving the advertisers money? Yes.
So the remaining people who don't use ad blockers who see the ad, they're more likely to actually click it.
Because like people that aren't using ad blockers have a higher conversion rate.
And that higher click-through rate is better for the advertisers, which allows the website owners to in turn go look at our success rate to attract more people to advertise with them. By forcing a large population of people who are not only never going to click an ad, but are never going to pay for YouTube Premium to now view the ads, then that means that the click-through rate is going to decrease, and then the companies are going to pull out and advertise elsewhere because their campaigns are not as effective anymore. You also have to...
That's not true. They would just pay less money. So, I mean, like, of course, advertisers, where would they go if everywhere is blocking ads? Or, sorry, is forcing people to have ads? Like, yeah, they would just pay less money. Because they're paying based off of conversions or something like that rather than impressions. Impressions are people seeing it, conversions are people buying it.
Accept the reality that there are many more options besides pay with your time or pay with your money. There's always going to be other solutions such as take your time elsewhere or find any other alternative solution. In the comments section of that same Reddit thread, one user posted a link to a website called YouTube, spelled differently. This is a mirrored version of the main YouTube site that doesn't have any advertisements on it. I, along with many other people, would have never known this website ever existed if it wasn't for YouTube taking such an aggressive anti-ad blocker stance. Additionally, YouTube's new experiment caused me to discover a browser add-on called Ad Nauseam. This works by blocking your ads like normal, but in the background it clicks every single one of them. And this is so that advertisers can't build a profile on you because it looks like you just click every single ad. But this does end up meaning that the advertisers are getting their money wasted because all their ads are being clicked but not actually viewed. So if YouTube begins to more aggressively enforce their anti-ad block stance, the ad block developers aren't just going to go, I guess I'll pack my bags and head home then. They're going to find a way to one-up it, and then we might...
I don't think that's going to happen. Because I can almost guarantee you that they could probably sue them for that. And I guarantee you that if somebody is an add-on developer and there's a chance that they're going to get sued by like Walmart, they're going to shut that add-on down in a second. They're not even going to try to fight that.
See more ad blockers that work just like this, so that they're spoofing YouTube into thinking you've allowed ads by clicking them, but then the ads aren't actually being served and it's going to waste more and more advertiser money, which makes their campaigns less effective and causes less of them to want to advertise with YouTube. And even if
and somebody does say it depends on country jurisdiction, no? That's true.
Particular method does eventually become illegal, it's not really going to matter because of how few changes you have to actually make to make it legal again. One pretty recent gray area example, like if a particular method does eventually become illegal, it's not really going to matter because of how few changes you have to actually make to make it legal again. One pretty recent gray area example I can think of is with YouTube Vanced. This was a third-party YouTube APK for Android that enabled AdBlock and Sponsor Block. But it was discontinued due to legal threats, and this was likely because it also enabled certain premium features, such as the pop-out window, or the ability to listen to a video even when your phone screen was powered off. And now you have the spiritual successor, YouTube Revanced. And the main loophole here is that instead of providing you with a third-party APK, it just kind of teaches you how to build your own mod yourself. So realistically speaking, the whack-a-mole game is just never going to go away.
I think that it will. And the reason why is that every single time that you do something like this, you reduce the amount of people that are willing to go that extra step. So like if you make it harder for somebody to use ad blocker, eventually the annoyance of ads will be the lesser of two evils.
When it comes to people and advertisements as a whole.
No, I do think so. And the reason why I think so is because I've had a YouTube channel for 10 years. And I've seen how ad block changes and the amount of people that watch ads versus don't watch ads. And more people watch ads now than used to watch ads. And the biggest reason for that is because of mobile. Now, are there ways to block ads on mobile? Yes, they are. But are they more annoying to do? Yes. So if you make ad blocking more inconvenient, you will reduce the amount of people that use ad block. You just look at what's happened.
Many people are actually okay with advertisements, but only to a reasonable extent. You have apps, such as Duolingo, that serves you an ad at the end of each lesson. But people also voluntarily choose to view a second unskippable ad for a small reward within the app. Many of my fellow Americans probably watch the Super Bowl and have a favorite Super Bowl ad that you'll even go onto YouTube to watch.
Sure, there's funny ads.
One of my all-time favorite ads was for a Wii game back in 2008, Wario Land Shake It. As you watch a trailer, the entire web page would break apart, and you could even drag elements of it around afterwards.
That's cool.
You can't do it anymore on the modern YouTube web page, but thankfully, users such as Video Game Clip Collect and Nuke JP have preserved this ad. So think about
that's
that
badass.
I'm talking about how I'm glad that an ad was preserved. And I'm not the only person who's ever said that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have entire compilations of commercials on YouTube with millions of views and millions of positive comments. So if people tolerate ads and even have ads that they like, what YouTube and other companies need to be asking themselves is, why are people using ad blockers on our website in the first place? And the answer comes down to the quantity of the ads and the quality of them.
Yeah,
people who use ad blockers didn't start out.
Yeah, I think that if you probably took the random generic Raid Shadow Legends sponsor and then you compared the click-through rate of that, not click-through, but like skip rate of that, and you compared it to like Internet Historian ads, I bet there are more people that don't skip Internet Historian ads. There is absolutely a spectrum.
Using them on day one, they browsed the internet like normal until they reached a tipping point where they said, enough is enough, and then they went out to find an ad blocker. Many people were pretty understanding and tolerant of a single pre-roll ad, skippable or not, but then as that number continued to grow, more and more people hit that breaking point and just said, enough is enough, there's got to be a better way.
And I think that's really kind of what it is. It's kind of like Spotify. Like back in the day, if you wanted to get new music, what you had to do is you actually had to download a, sorry, you didn't have to download. You had to like go to Best Buy, go to Walmart, go to like Circuit City, and actually buy a CD. And like the CD was like $17, $15, $10, $8, whatever, right? And you would only have the music for that CD. Versus now you have Spotify and you pay $15 and you can get all of the music that you want. So I think that Spotify is actually, and I actually, like, I used to pirate music all the time. Now I never pirate music because Spotify is just such a great service for such a great value. And the value extends beyond just the being able to listen to the music. It's the way the music is stored. It's the multi-device capabilities of it. And just the way that I can share music with other people. I think Spotify is amazing. And I think the truth is that, like, you compare that with Twitch ads, for example, because like Spotify is an example that like people were getting something for free and then they moved to paying for it. How many of you guys, yeah, convenience is king. You're exactly right. How many of you guys are the exact same as me? You were Pirate Bay enjoyers, you were LimeWire enjoyers, and now you are a Spotify enjoyer. Yeah, lots of people. Okay. So Twitch is the opposite because it's just way overdone. Like Twitch is, the ads are just insane on Twitch. Like you can spend multiple minutes just watching one ad or one block of ads, and then you go to another stream and it's the same fucking thing. It's insane. So Turbo, it's like, yeah, you do have Twitch Turbo for that. That's nice. But the problem is that like YouTube, how many of you guys, like for me, I spend way more time on YouTube than I do on Twitch. Like I probably watch Twitch streams for less than 5 minutes a day every day. Straight up. Like, I feel like anything that's really funny from a Twitch stream, I'll probably see it on YouTube anyway. Who gives a fuck? I don't want to watch the B-roll. So, and on YouTube, I don't worry about getting an ad blocker on my mobile phone because it's just 1 or 2 skippable ads. It's, 15 seconds. Who cares? It's not a big deal. And if it was the same way on Twitch, I feel like more people wouldn't use ad blocker. But it's a matter of like, it becomes too much. Way too much.
Now that we've reached the point where enough people sat together in a room and said, Serving 5 to 10 unskippable ads at a time sounds like a brilliant idea.
I have never received this, by the way, on YouTube. I have never received 7 of 10 or 1 of 5 ads. The most I have ever received is a set of 2 ads, and one was unskippable and the other one was not. And most of the time it's one skippable ad after 5 seconds.
How could anyone be surprised that more people than ever are using ad blockers? And many people do value their time as a currency, sometimes just as much or even more than money. So as the money,
well, of course their time is a currency. If it wasn't a currency, then the ad people wouldn't be paying for their time. It is a currency.
Price or the chronological price increases, demand is going to decrease.
Yeah.
But perhaps a bigger issue at hand for many people is not the quantity of the ads, but the quality of the ads. Most viewers on YouTube aren't receiving average, ordinary, family-friendly ads. You got
yeah, it's some fucking furry ad or something like that, yeah. Or Mr. Beast scams.
Hustle bros with their get-rich-quick scams. You got multi-level marketing ads or hidden in their income disclosure statement. It reveals that 99% of people lose money. You have games that are deceptively nothing like the advertisement, some of which include blatant copyright infringement to deceive users. Sketchy websites that make...
Yeah, I think YouTube is really, I think they're really dropping the ball with like their approval process for ads. I feel like they're really, really dropping the ball recently.
Contains spyware and malware and vulgar adult content to the point where YouTubers such as SaberSpark have talked about them, only for him to get in trouble for showing the exact footage that advertisers are still allowed to show.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you are using something such as Sponsor Block, you may have never even heard of various sketchy sponsors, such as established titles, until YouTubers such as Scott Schaefer started covering them.
We watched that video.
And because people aren't asking basic questions such as, is this company allowed to use this IP to advertise? Or, if this title were legally binding, why aren't the locals using it? Why aren't there more lords and ladies in Scotland than there are Saudi princes if it's this easy? This means that you are significantly safer by using ad blockers and sponsor blockers, and that's why so many government agencies, such as the FBI, says you should be using them. Now, because bad advertisers usually just get a slap on the wrist instead of...
And this is a problem, right? Because, like, it creates a completely clean moral justification for using ad block. Because I think that you can make the argument that if everybody used ad block and nobody saw any ads, then YouTube couldn't exist in the way that it does now. So because of that, I think that you can make an ethical argument that watching ads is part of the social contract that you sign going into watching videos and content on a certain website. Because if everybody did not do that, or sorry, if nobody did that, then the website could not function. Like, this is just an objective fact. The website could not function without advertising. So if nobody does advertising, then that would be it. Nobody would be able to see anything. So if that's the case, I think that many people would probably be like, it would be harder to justify using an ad blocker. And I think that it would be easier to defend YouTube for trying to stop people from using ad blockers because they're doing it in a legitimate way. That's absolutely not the truth. Oh, of course it is. No, of course it's not even a question. You're delusional. Are you crazy? If nobody saw ads, how would these websites make any money? So it's like you can make an ethical argument that using ad blocker could be an unethical behavior, but that argument immediately goes into garbage whenever there are ads that are like these weird porn games with like furry like foxes and shit that are being advertised on Minecraft videos, Mr. Beast scams, scam video games, and bullshit like that.
Any form of legal or civil penalties, does that mean that you can never expect the company or the people who run these sketchy advertisements to accept responsibility and compensate the viewers when they demonstrate a complete lack of quality control and promote these ads which give them a sense of legitimacy before the advertisements exploit the viewers?
I think that I actually do think that we can hold YouTube accountable for that. I do think it is YouTube's fault that this is happening. Like, it's not like, oh, well, you know, shit happens. Like, yes, shit does happen, but shit is happening like way too much. Like, I'd be okay if there was like every once in a while there's a bad ad. Like, yeah, sure, right? I mean, there's just, that's life. But it's like most of them are bad.
Of course not. I'm not an attorney, so take this next bit with a grain of salt, but I do think that this distinct lack of accountability may actually be part of the reason why you don't see companies actively trying to lobby and change the laws to restrict the use of ad blockers. With the current system, there's so many intermediaries between a website and the ads that they run that they all get to point the fingers at each other and play the blame game whenever something goes awry. If they push too hard to try and change the laws, it could have a cobra effect for them by creating stricter regulations for internet advertising. It could create more distinct guidelines on someone getting in trouble for making an ad with a fake close button or a fake download link. And it could even create an opportunity for website owners themselves to be held liable for damages if they fail to implement quality control and then their ads go on to harm the viewers. After Enron collapsed and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act passed in 2002, it created a new standard where CEOs and CFOs had to legally certify all financial statements as accurate, and they could face very steep civil or legal penalties if they certified a statement that was false or misleading.
Sure.
While it did scare some people into compliance very quickly, it also caused nearly 500 companies to just voluntarily delist themselves from stock exchanges because
it sounds like a bit of a self-report, right?
They were really scared about now having their name on that paper.
Yeah.
And I imagine that if you're in the advertising industry, you don't want to run the risk of having to certify the ads on a site as safe. Many of the specifics of that topic are still much better suited for a...
And I think also, like, you can talk about laws as much as you want, but I think a lot of it is just going to be kind of like like not everything has to go to court, you know? Like sometimes there are just arguments that are made and it's hard to enforce things on the internet in general because the internet exists globally and people that are on a global platform all have different laws. So I think that you should expect to, if you're not paying for something, you should expect to see ads. And if you expect to not pay for something at all and not see ads at all, I don't think that's fair. However, I think that there are extremes, like Twitch is right now, that is just completely unreasonable. Like it is tremendously unreasonable, the amount of ads that Twitch forces on you. And because of that, you have people moving away. And also there's the fact of like the free market too, is that the free market, people can just go to another website. And I think that's the way that it should be solved in almost all cases. Like there are like, whenever somebody is being like genuinely harmed with like a malicious ad, then yeah, there needs to be accountability. But whenever it's just like a moral conundrum on the internet, I think in a lot of these cases, the free market can make decisions by itself. And I think that's what's happened many times.
Expert. But from a business perspective, it makes much more sense to maintain the ambiguity and then shift the blame to the ad block users whenever the topic comes up. Now let's have a fun look at distancing layers and how small details can make a huge difference. Let's pretend that you're watching TV with your family. The commercials come on, so you hit the mute button. But then a family member turns to you and says, "Hey, you can't mute the TV during the commercials. That's theft." And then you watch and give all sorts of personal information to the network owners.
There's already patented technology that detects where your eyes are that tells the viewer, or sorry, the advertiser, whether you're actually watching the ad or not. And it will pause the ad if you're not looking at it. Yeah, this technology not only exists, but it's already been patented.
Cable provider. And when you look at some of the patents that have been filed over the years, it's not even a far stretch of the imagination to say that people have actually flirted with the idea of having your TV watch you to make sure that you watch your advertisements.
Yeah.
Now let's pretend that you're at the local park with a friend. There's a man with a megaphone screaming about all the hot singles in your area. And then when you ignore him and walk past him, your friend says, "You can't just do that. He paid to advertise here so that freeloaders like you don't have to pay to enter the park. He is entitled to have you listen to his entire speech." And then when you finally meet your obligation and try to leave, the man purposely bumps into you, forcing you to give him personal information. Most people would never tolerate these conditions in a physical setting, but then make one small change as to the technology being used to serve you
Harass people unaware of privacy, security, around Apple comments. Okay.
Ad, and then the mentality in some people changes. And this phenomenon of distancing layers via technology is actually really common. Think of how many friends you have that would never fall for a traditional multi-level marketing scheme, get-rich-quick scam, penny stock pump and dump. But then you change the technology to, say, cryptocurrency,
NFTs,
and then some of those red flags...
Yeah.
flags just subconsciously go away.
Totally different.
I've seen real life examples of people who on one hand are aware enough to say, all these influencers trying to shill this penny stock just want to pump and dump me.
Yeah.
But then later on they say, yeah, I really do think that this doggy themed token with no utility is going to 100x, so I better get in quick. And you might even know somebody who went, I'm not going to give this
doubling money. I feel like, again, it's like, yes, fraud, you need to convict people for fraud, there has to be accountability for it, but man, you gotta look out for yourself too. It's like, I see somebody like, you are still a fucking idiot if you have this shit happen to you.
RuneScape scammer might go, oh my goodness, Obama's doubling my Bitcoin on Twitter.
Yep.
So many new scams are just old scams with new technology because of these very same psychological
Doubling
distancing
people's
barriers
money.
that we subconsciously create. Now let's discuss price discrimination, specifically third-degree price discrimination, where specific demographics are charged different amounts. If you go to, say, a museum, you might notice that different groups pay different prices. If you only think about things in terms of profits, you may think that you're losing out on potential money by not charging equal prices. But all value is subjective, and you want to find that perfect ratio of price to demand for each group in order to maximize your profits.
Well, this is why, like, in clubs, they have girls that get in for fucking free in some of these clubs, because if the guys know there's girls in there, well, then they're going to want to pay to get in the club. I mean, that's just how it is. And remember what they always say. If you're not paying for a product, you are the product.
Student discount isn't because they think that college students are better than other groups of people. It's because they generally have less income, so they're less likely to be able to show up in the first place if they have to pay full price.
This is actually a thing that they do with grocery stores. I wasn't even aware of this. My dad was telling me about this because he had a conversation with somebody at one of the local grocery stores about this, that the same product costs more or less money based off of which grocery store it's at, because of the socioeconomic status of the people that shop at that grocery store. So, like, you're getting farmed to pay more money just because you go to a certain grocery store. Isn't that insane? In the same city. Whole Foods? I mean, you're getting farmed hey, bro, if you go to Whole Foods, that's what you get.
Meanwhile, that senior citizen discount is because so many of them grew up used to things being cheaper that if you charge them full price, they're more likely to hit that cutoff point and say, this is just too much, it's not worth it. And then in this example, military getting free admission is going to be because there are just so many competitive free attractions in the area that if they have to pay anything, they're just going to take their time elsewhere.
Well, here's a real good fucking example is on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and a few other days, they give free meals to veterans at Golden Corral. Guess where my dad and I are at every Veterans Day? That's right. And like, yeah, he gets a free meal, but I don't, and I pay for a meal. Golden Corral gets my fucking money that day for sure.
This doesn't mean that they cause huge losses for the museum every time they show up. There are other ways they can contribute to the profits, such as buying food, drinks, or souvenirs. And there are other non-monetary benefits too, such as contributing to good PR for the museum, and the military members are contributing to the higher metrics that the museums get to use to entice partnerships and investors.
Sure.
And now let's apply a third-degree price discrimination model to YouTube. In the United States, premium membership is currently $11.99 per month, but you can't charge that same rate equally across every single country. Between factors such as exchange rate, minimum wage, purchasing power, cost of living, if you try to apply the same price to every single country, you're going to have several countries where they go, well, the price of premium.
Yeah, this is the same problem that like guys in like South America have with WoW. Is that like they're like, oh, I can't fucking pay $15 a month for WoW. That's the equivalent of like $195 here. It's nuts.
Is more than I make in a month, so I can't even afford this in the first place. So then with strategic pricing in mind, at the very bottom you have the Adblock users. Currently, they do not see the subjective value of the time price, and they do not see the subjective value of the monetary price of premium either. So many of these customers are ones who...
I think that, again, like we're talking about subjective value, a lot of people just... It's not about a value proposition, they just don't want to see ads. There's not like a way that you're going to convince them to watch ads. They just don't want to watch ads.
would just not waste as much time on YouTube, or may even leave YouTube altogether if they were forced to pay in one form or another. They still have ways to contribute value though. Some disable their ad blockers for their favorite creator, some buy super chats, but most importantly, they still contribute watch data and other analytics that allows YouTube to say, look at our overwhelming market share, and then all that data is what attracts so many investors in the first place.
I don't like this argumentation because the reason why that watch data and those analytics are valuable is because they're leveraged with marketing money. Because if you have 1 million people that watch you and nobody sees an ad, you just serve the ad to nobody. So like, I don't really think it's a one-to-one there. And it's like, yes, obviously this could be true on like a generality level, but if you look at it from like a logical perspective, I actually think that the value of a person who is paying literally $0 and not watching any ads at all is actually a net negative. Like, for example, if every single person on Twitch did what I did on this channel and they turned off all of their ads, Twitch would go bankrupt. And that would be it. It would be over. And it wouldn't matter how many people are watching because you can't monetize that viewership.
YouTube would love it if these people help them earn more money, but anybody saying that they contribute nothing of value to YouTube is objectively and demonstrably wrong.
I do disagree with that because I think that the value proposition of that investment and of those analytics are the potential of those analytics being leveraged towards advertising dollars. So if by the nature of the analytics existing, they only exist because they can't be leveraged towards advertising dollars, I don't think the analytics would be valuable in the first place. So I don't agree with that.
Especially when every single viewer doubles as a product, which is likely a huge reason why YouTube could go banning users with ad blockers, but they don't. If the free users of YouTube were really this much of a drain on profits, then it would have stopped being a free service a long time ago. It would have either become paid only, or they would have limited the amount of free content for non-paying users. When you think of who is a stakeholder in a company, what's the first thing that comes to mind? You probably think, anyone who owns stock or invested money directly into the company. And while those are in fact stakeholders, they're not the only ones. One of the most important stakeholders is the customer. One of the most grossly misrepresented quotes of all time is, the customer is always right in matters of taste. A lot of us tend to ignore that second half and think that it means people need to bend over backwards to please us. But what it really means is that the best product or service is the ones that the people choose. And if so many users are choosing to access YouTube in...
Well, I think that the customer is always right is meant as a collective statement, not this individual customer is always right.
Any other way besides the default settings, well, that's just the free market speaking. If not enough people are buying your premium service, then it means that the current tactic of creating a problem in order to sell a solution is not enough, and you have to create more incentives to buy. But to be completely fair to YouTube here, this is an uphill battle that they face because of the way that we perceive rewards. Let's pretend that we live in a fantasy world where somebody actually made a good play-to-earn video game.
Imagine
everything looks good on paper, people play video games for free, and people even pay to play video games. So introducing a reward means that people should really enjoy playing your game if it's good.
Sure.
So at first you have a bunch of people playing, selling, you got buyers, and people who are playing non-stop make $200 a week.
Wow.
Sounds good. But then over time, basic factors such as supply being sold outweighing demand being bought, and then people just having to settle for selling for less, your average goes from $200 a week.
This is giving me Diablo 3 PTSD hearing this, because this is exactly what happened in Diablo 3. I used to be able to make $1,000 a week, and then it was like $600 a week. And then it was like fucking $200 a week. It was like $50 a week. Fuck!
To $100 a week.
Yep.
Well, plenty of people are still happy because they still like the game. And before, they were playing games for free. But then, as the trend continues, you go from making $200 a week to, say, $50 or $25. And then more and more people are just saying, this isn't worth it anymore. It doesn't matter that the game on its own...
And another compounding variable that, like, this guy's like, I don't know if he's going to bring this up or not, is that if you start people at making $20 a week, they're going to feel a whole lot better than if you start them at making $200 a week and you move them down to making $20 a week.
Own was actually considered
like
good because once you introduce rewards to it, you cannot scale them back.
Yeah.
And this is essentially what has happened to many longtime YouTubers. It used to be that you would exchange your time and your reward, instead of being $100, it would be 100% pure YouTube video with no ads. But then over time, your reward goes from 100% video to 90% video, 10% ad. And then as it goes further and further, eventually most people hit that point where they say this payout rate isn't enough. And even if you do pay, not all of the problems go away.
Yeah.
Right now, free YouTube with legal add-ons is far better than paid YouTube. So can you really blame anyone for not seeing the value of premium? YouTube really does have to start thinking outside of the box to bundle enough perks that people say, I see how this service provides value that free YouTube could never possibly provide me. Just like with...
And then also, like, I'm going to be real. Like, they could probably make it to where you couldn't watch, have ad blocker. I think that what they do already is they just occasionally disable an ad blocker for a while. And every single time that you do that, the amount of people that are using ad blocker gets a little bit smaller. And it might grow over time, but just shrinking it a little bit over and over and over, I bet that's pretty effective. Because again, like if you make it annoying enough for people to get ad blocker, they'll just watch ads. And again, everybody says, nah, I'll leave. Where are you going to go? Yeah, where are you going to go? TikTok, there's ads on TikTok too. Go to Kick? Yeah, there you go. Go outside? Yeah. See, everybody's lying here.
With the Netflix and
This is exactly what happened with Reddit. Didn't we just see this happen with Reddit? Everybody's like, oh, we're going to protest this big problem. But then whenever they do, it doesn't, like, there's no effect of it because there's nowhere else for them to go. Yeah, it literally just happened.
Thing. If you make the paid options better than the free options, people will pay for it.
Yep. Spotify is a great example of that. That's
on the
very
much
accurate.
more emotionally charged subjective side of things, you will see an endless back and forth between one person saying they shouldn't have expected it to be free forever, and then them saying, well, they've crossed the fine line between necessity to survive and greed. But I won't get too into that. I think the universal take...
I think that for most people, the reason why they pirate and the reason why they use ad block is a combination between wanting to save money and convenience. That's what it really comes down to. Like, it's not like this is an ethical or like some moral decision that most people make. I don't think so. I think it's just as simple as they want to save money and they don't want to have to see this shit, and that's it. Like, there's not it. Like, I think most people, it's the same with like pirating and stealing things. People sometimes like, oh, they justify it. Like, oh, well, this is, you know, $1 billion company, so it's okay for me to steal from them. Meanwhile, these people will steal from anywhere else too. It's not like they really give a shit, right? It's just an excuse. Like, most people are just doing it because it's convenient and it's effective. It saves money. As Gabe Newell said himself, there's something along the lines of the solution to piracy is a good platform. He said piracy is it's a service or a delivery problem. That's what Gabe Newell said. And I think it is true. Spotify does quantify that, absolutely. But it's a service problem, yeah. But I also think that there are a lot of people that just don't like seeing ads, period.
Takeaway we can get from those arguments are trying to insult your customer base to get them to pay is generally a bad business idea.
Yeah.
It's not working for Twitter, and it's not working for people trying to lock previously basic features behind paywalls. Something I found out as I was trying to grab a few headlines is that AdBlock Plus actually does have a quality control program where they do permit non-intrusive ads through the ad blockers. I can't give a properly qualified opinion on it because I've never used it.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
And I do have a few initial concerns, such as potential conflict of interest arising from the same group
very easily corruption
that approves the ads also being paid by the advertiser.
Yeah.
But the customer is always right in matters of taste, and 500 million downloads implies that people tolerate tolerable ads. Many people...
and that's really what it comes down to. It's the same as on YouTube. Like, the reason why people... Like, I bet that... And again, like, I'm just basically talking out my ass here, and I'm basically just assuming that people do the same thing that I do. But, like, the reason why I spend way more time on YouTube on my phone than on Twitch is because of the ads. Another big reason. Like, it's not just because most streams are fucking boring. It's also because of the ads. Like, I don't want to sit through one of 8. I just want to go to YouTube and watch something and then it's over. That's it. So it's like, again, there are a lot of these cases where the solution is the free market. And YouTube also has ads. And there are other platforms like Instagram where you have almost no video ads. But I spend more time on YouTube that has more ads than Instagram does because I think the content is better. Don't you have Twitch Turbo? No, I don't.
Would gladly disable ad blockers for their favorite creators if it was safe to do so. If you already do disable your ad blocker for your favorite website or content creator, that's fine, you're allowed to. And inversely, that website or content creator is allowed to politely ask if you're willing to do so.
Yeah, sure.
But if they're uploading to YouTube instead of, say, Netflix, well, they should also respect your decision if you say no. Because we were all aware of this possibility as we got into YouTube. And look, we all like the idea of having more money with less effort as opposed to less money with more effort. I am no exception to that rule. But if somebody is crossing that line between politely asking and trying to guilt trip you or coerce you, all chances.
Keep in mind, little fun fact, you got one of these situations, a little bit of this problem, what you want to do is you want to go ahead, you want to Google the title of the article and then go to the triple dot next to the link to the article on Google and search for the cached version. The cached version of many of these articles does not have the paywall enabled, and you can read the articles for free.
They are either one, not fully aware of the risks it poses to you, and that's not entirely their fault, which is why I like to say don't hate, educate.
Yeah.
Or two, they have been fully educated on the risks it poses to you, and they are willing to expose you to that risk in order to make money off of you.
Sure.
So in conclusion, if you want people to not use ad blockers on your website, you got to make the quantity and the quality of them tolerable. Forced compliance will only make things worse for everyone. Not just the viewers, but the advertisers and the website hosts. But in a world...
I think that also, like, the forced compliance is like, it's like 10x worse whenever you have ads that are unsafe and scams. I think that you can make a justification for forced compliance because, again, you don't have a... Like, nobody has a right to go to YouTube, right? Nobody has a right to go to Twitter. Like, it's just that, you know, the way... Like, this is the contract that you sign by going to these different platforms. But I do think that it actually makes the companies in the moral or the ethical wrong, that they are forcing you to watch things that are damaging or destructive. Like, I think that they are at that point wrong.
Where kids get ads for adult content and vapes, or recovering.
Whereas in the other case, I don't think it's as cut and dried.
Addicts receive targeted ads for gambling and alcohol, where enabling ads can put you at risk even if you don't click them, where we have so many fake download ads that people need guides written for avoiding the fake ones with malware, and where even Google accidentally allows the first result for YouTube to lead you to a fake Microsoft Windows tech support. Good luck convincing anybody to surf the web of digital STDs without a digital condom. Especially when YouTube employees get caught using ad blockers.
It was so good.
Don't let people shift the blame to you, the victims, who just want to stay safe. Let the people who created and enabled the problem to fix their own problem.
Yeah.
One final fun fact before I wrap everything up. Ethan Zuckerman, the inventor of the pop-up ad, has apologized for it, and he went on to call advertising the original sin of the web. And while I won't excuse his actions, in his defense, if he didn't invent it, somebody else definitely would have. And he also has done some noteworthy things in his life afterwards. He set up the internet in third world countries, and he resigned from MIT after he found out about his lab's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. So I wouldn't necessarily call him evil. My question of the day for you all is, for those of you who use an ad blocker, what was your breaking point? What caused you to finally say, enough is enough, I can't handle these ads anymore? Let me know in the comments below. That's all I got for now. Have a wonderful day.
I think he brings up some good points. I think that also there's probably a lot of give and take with this. It's a very complex argument because, again, I think that if you are trying to show an ad and the ad is like, it's not predatory, it's not a scam, it's not a virus, you have everybody using ad blocker, that video could not exist. And that in that situation, I do think that in a way it is unethical to use an ad blocker, because if you, and that, by the way, like, you don't see me turning mine off, okay? Like, I have no problem doing something that's unethical. However, it is. So And it's like, again, I have no problem with that. I just don't like, I hate seeing the justifications. I hate the justifications. That's what really annoys me. If you want to do something bad, you want to steal something, do it with a smile, but don't fucking tell me you're Robin Hood. It's so annoying. But again, whenever you have these ads that are scams, you have these ads that are misleading, etc., that's what the problem is, and that's what's dangerous. And so at that point, I think that the ethical argument no longer exists. And at that point, like, I think it's completely ethical to use an ad block if the ads are actively harmful. And I think that's the problem here. And also, I do think with mobile, like, the reason why I watch YouTube way more than Twitch is because the ads on Twitch are just fucking crazy, man. They're absolutely fucking insane. Like, we were watching, who were we watching the other day? Zeals? We were watching Zeals, and he got fucking 6 minutes of ads. We were trying to watch Tectone do rolls for Seal, and I got hit with ads. Like, I don't know how many times I've watched somebody else's stream, and I get hit with 6 minutes of ads, or 3 minutes of ads, or 6 ads, each one's 30 seconds. It's nuts. Why not buy Turbo? I just haven't. Like, that's about it. 30-second ads that can't be skipped, 2 in a row is a done deal with Twitch. Well, the thing is, 1 minute of ads isn't even that bad. It's the 3 minutes of ads. It says it's 115 seconds left. And are targeted as a random TV channel? Yes, and well, that's between Twitch and the advertiser. I think these advertisers are getting fleeced, to be honest with you. But yeah, even if you've just watched an ad, you click creator with high viewership, you get a pre-roll, which locks you in until you watch. Yeah, it's very annoying. But yeah, I do think that these websites can effectively make it harder for you to use ad blockers, and it will be effective. And I think that the reason that I think that is because that's what happens on mobile. Is that it's more annoying and harder to get an ad blocker on mobile than it is on a PC, and less people use ad blockers on there. It's that simple. I do absolutely think that you can make it harder for people to ad block. Now, you can never stop somebody from ad block. It's not going to happen. But you can reduce ad block down to the point to where it is so inconvenient to do that it's unrealistic that an average person will do it. And that's all you need to do. It's the same as like laws don't get rid of crime, they just reduce it. On Twitch, you miss actual content when it's being played. On YouTube, you don't. That's true. Yeah, Twitch's ad system is the worst. It's fundamentally cannibalistic. I agree. What about ads? Make it ethical to stop videos. What about ads? Make it ethical to stop. Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Have you seen any other site more aggressive than Twitch at combating ad block? Any site more aggressive than Twitch at combating ad block? Yes, I have. There's many websites that literally just don't allow you to access them if you have ad block on. You're coping there? I think that you can't really say that I'm coping whenever I'm giving an example. Like, you can say I'm coping if I'm talking about what I think people are going to do, but whenever I'm giving an example of what people have already done, I think that's kind of unfair, right? Do streamers adjust ads on their stream? It's, yes and no. To be honest, I watch your stream on Twitch, and a big reason of it is because you don't run ads. Yeah, but, like, the fundamental truth is that while everybody complains about ads on Twitch, ads have not affected people's Twitch viewership. They haven't. As much as you want to complain about it and talk about how bad ads are, they haven't. And again, it has for me, but doesn't matter for you. Because you don't matter. The collective matters. Like, whenever you say, oh, well, it is because of me, it doesn't matter what your personal fucking anecdote is whenever the graph of thousands of people, millions of people, says that you're wrong. Yeah, it's a collective, man. Track numbers. Viewership is the exact same after an ad plays. You can see the drop when it plays and it goes right back up. Yeah, people might click off and they come right back, and it doesn't really affect viewership. That's it. Let's see. I'll read a few more of these. Ads have 100% affected the viewership of small streamers who get their discoverability destroyed by pre-rolls. I think that you could be right about that part. Yeah, sure. I would maybe concede that. Sure. The collective says the Twitch friend... that Twitch is a fringe media side would be squashed. YouTube just invested a little in live streaming. Even if you don't see it at all, its affecting its effect on your growth could be greater. Yeah, but like what you're that's like such a hypothetical, right? So like what you're saying is that theoretically in a different world, maybe I could be right, but the numbers just simply don't reflect that. I think Twitch viewers don't switch between channels as much because they get hit by ads every time they jump around, so it would be a little bit more detrimental for smaller channels because viewers aren't willing to take the ads to see if they're worth watching. I think that you're very right about that. I think that pre-roll ads do hurt less established creators more. That's a very good point. The only real negative thing I've seen is there's a stigma with with ads that smaller creators face. So whenever folks get hit with an ad, they interpret it as being intentional from the creator. Yeah, maybe. But does it matter because that growth doesn't generate ad revenue anyways? It does if I can monetize things differently on streams because I am very creative with being able to make money off of people, right? Sure. And it's also, the reason also is because it's not an ultimate sense. And I remember we talked about this, but Twitch can't. Twitch can, but it's more complicated. Twitch's overall viewers have declined from 100K to 200K per year since 2021. Really? So do you think that was because of the global pandemic receding or because of ads? I wonder. Because there were still a lot of ads in 2021. There's a reason why like Meta and Twitter and all these other places were also laying off people. It's because there's been a internet recession in general of users. So whenever something affects every single platform, you would assume that the reason why the change is happening is not due to the individual actions of that platform if all of them are being affected. It's just logic. Anyway, I think this is a very interesting video. This guy brought up a number of really good points. He's only got 3,000 subscribers. I think this is a really well-reasoned video. A couple of things I disagreed with, but I think that he made some good points too. I'm going to link it to you guys so you can take a look at it.